Hello, everyone. You're listening to Cinema 5000. My name is Mallory. This is my podcast. On this episode, I'm going to talk to you about 4 feature films as well as a couple of short films. Now, it's been a little bit since there's been an episode, and I should probably let you know this is just the busy time of year for me. Now through like mid-late September, there might not be an episode every single week. And I do episodes based upon like how much stuff I'm watching. So generally, I watch about 4 to 5 films a week. In the last week and a half to almost 2 weeks or so, I have not. It's been difficult. Oddly difficult because I have not really gone anywhere, but I've just been busy like house sitting and like life things, mostly working. And you know, at night when I'm winding down, maybe thinking about watching a movie, sometimes I'm just not awake enough to really put something on that I want to watch, or it's hard to find something that can kind of be like something that I can be into and just, you know, watch for the sake of watching, not something like I'm like heavily like, oh, I want to see that. And in fact, this morning I put on a movie and I was like, I could watch this in 90 minutes because I woke up really early. No, out in 5 minutes. Did not happen. And I hate leaving the podcast on like a negative note if I end with a film that's negative and also something that I didn't like to start. But I think the reality is I have to record an episode. I have to tell you what I have to watch. I have watched, rather, regardless of the quality. So on that note, we're at 5,838 films. So 162 to go to hit the 6,000. That will be very difficult for the end of the year. I'm going to guess. Let's say March 20th, 2026 is when I hit it. Place your bets. But where do we start? We're going to start with Superman from 2025, directed by James Gunn. The tagline is, look up. Superman, a journalist in Metropolis, embarks on a journey to reconcile his Kryptonian heritage with his human upbringing as Clark Kent. Now, even though this is supposed to be us kind of starting on like a new footing with Superman in this movie as it's laid out, I think the movie's problem, or at least my problem with the movie rather, is that it wants you to be overly familiar with a lot of Superman things, like the existence of his job at the Daily Planet, his relationship with Lois Lane, and then the general turmoil of what he experiences in trying to protect planet Earth by day, and then the things related to his home planet and it being attacked and such. Yeah, a lot of things that this movie wants to sort of hint at and just throw you right into. Literally, most of this movie is just throwing you right into things, such as the dynamic between Lex Luthor, played by Nicholas Hoult, and Superman / Clark Kent, who's played by David Corenswet. So Rachel Brosnahan plays the love interest, the Lois Lane. You know, she should be like the second fiddle to Superman in a lot of ways. And I think this movie kind of does her disservice. I felt like this Lois Lane was like really held back by what this story was doing. And when we first get a sense for what her relationship is with Clark / Superman, I liked what it was starting to do, and then it just completely lost me. Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor, I don't think it's a bad performance, but it feels very one note to me. He's just spending a lot of his time screaming and yelling and telling his crew what to do to fight Superman, because he's up in his Lex Luthor tower calling the shots of how to take, you know, action in attacking Superman with his special, I can't remember the name of it, the special dude he had made to fight him. And then there's so many side characters in this. We have Nathan Fillion playing one of the Green Lanterns, Guy Gardner, Isabel Merced as Hawkgirl, and Edie Gathegi as Mr. Terrific. All 3 of them were in this movie, and all 3 of them, you could take them out. Maybe not Mr. Terrific. I think he had an integral part of the story that his impact as like a superhero was noted. It was like definitely something significant. But as the movie kind of plodded along to do all these things, I became more and more frustrated with it because I just never felt like it had the heart it was trying to promise. I never felt like it had the right balance of humor and action. And in fact, my biggest problem with the movie is that the last kind of act for this and where things go down and whatnot was just too reminiscent of all the destruction and debacle that Man of Steel had, and it just didn't feel very fulfilling. I want to say from start to finish, there was just nothing about this movie that really grabbed me, and it felt like a big waste of my time. Not to mention, I think James Gunn's balance of tone in this is really poor. His humor, his way of using music cues, and how he has, certain characters get introduced, and the things we sort of learn about the universes and the rips in the, the galaxy, whatever you want to say. It's been a while since I saw this, and I've been dreading talking about this movie just because I found so much of it to be very, very terrible and not entertaining, and it's really too bad because when I heard that Rachel Brosnahan was cast as Lois Lane, I was like, oh my god, I'm so excited for this movie because I thought Rachel Brosnahan was terrific casting. I've liked her in everything I've seen. Only a couple episodes of Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, but I really liked her in the show House of Cards. It was a very different performance than what's here. But in other movies and such, I just see her as a very reliable, talented actress who could definitely fill the trousers of Lois Lane. But even the stuff with the Daily Planet, it's all very okay, we're here and now we're gone. None of it really lingers. Nothing's feeling very significant. Jimmy Olsen doesn't have a lot to do in this. And a total waste of time and the talents of, gosh, what's his name? Man, there's so many people in this movie. Wendell Pierce as Perry White. Give him some actual scenes. My goodness. There's just too much in this movie. It's overstuffed. Too many villains. I wish, Superman had maybe stuck on the ground, been a little bit more grounded. But no, it's a huge miss for me. I give this 1.5 stars. And even that feels a bit generous. I felt like nothing for this movie. And the way it treated some of the characters with the humor and tone, just really, it's kind of tasteless humor. And I'm not a fan of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies other than maybe the first one, and that last Guardians movie, it feels like a carbon copy of that movie to me. The scripting by James Gunn, just no. And I don't like him as a filmmaker anyway, so I should not be surprised at all that I was not a fan of Superman. Now, on a different note, we're going to talk about James Bond. Live and Let Die from 1973, directed by Guy Hamilton. Bond is back. Oh, yes, he is here. Back in action, back with excitement. James Bond must investigate a mysterious murder case of a British agent in New Orleans. Soon, he finds himself up against a gangster boss named Mr. Big, or rather Kananga. Ooh boy, Roger Moore, he's here. I just had watched, I'm realizing now I've actually seen The Spy Who Loved Me, because I was like, this is the first Roger Moore Bond I've seen. It's actually technically the first in the line of the Bond series, but not the first one I've seen. So in the transition of moving away from Connery, we are here with Roger Moore. He is up against Yaphet Kotto, who Kananga / Mr. Big is a drug lord of sorts. And there's this island that this movie goes to and explores some, very insensitive kind of stuff. Back in the day, this was how movies were done. I mean, you see it in one of the James Bond films where he is, made to be a non-white man. With Sean Connery, and here we are again doing voodoo stuff, and it's very, very questionable, very 70s. So if you're sensitive to that kind of stuff, don't watch this movie. But it is the world that this movie is set in, this fictional island where Kananga has trapped Solitaire to be his fortune teller, his seeing eye into the future and successes and danger. And Solitaire is played by Jane Seymour. She is she's really good in this. She doesn't have a lot to do, but I really believed her plight in being under the under the hand of basically Kananga / Mr. Big and being his prisoner, and then James Bond, who is double her age, whisking her away, I feel bad in that respect because it's like, oh, this poor girl, she never had a chance. But I do think it's a good performance regardless of all the questionable things happening. I guess you could say that is the take for the James Bond movies in general, lots of questionable behavior. But you have to remember, there was a time when these movies came out and this is what just happened. And yeah, criticize it all you want. But is it entertaining? Yes, this was entertaining. Not a lot of action in this one. It's kind of surprising. And then it does the thing of, obviously James Bond and solitaire over a pool with things in it that could kill them, blah, 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 because Mr. Big is, like every other Bond villain when it boils down to who he is, despite his ability to have all this power and pull. And James Bond does go back to the United States in this movie. I find that hilarious. I never had that experience in the movies I had seen in my time of the Daniel Craigs and the Pierce Brosnan films, if I can recall correctly. I never went to the United States. So I just find it funny that we're going to Harlem. And we're going to New Orleans. Yeah. And I'm like, isn't there other places we can go that feel more James Bondy? But no, I'm the one who's wrong. That's what these movies are. Yeah, it's it entertaining? Yeah, it's definitely entertaining. I had a good time. It's not my favorite of the series, of course. If I was, I'd be raving about it up and down, but I had to give this 3 stars. In the rankings I've done of my James Bond films that I've seen, I think I have this at number 5. So that's 5 out of 8, which, I will say is a passing grade. There's only one James Bond film I did not give 3 stars, and that is Goldfinger, which got 2.5. I thought that was bad. And that was a very forgiving rating, and they were in Kentucky. Unforgivable. James Bond, get out of the United States. But Roger Moore, as his first film in the series, I think he does fine. I was probably a little more impressed with him than I thought I would be, because I don't remember The Spy Who Loved Me at all. It's been a while, and I'll rewatch it obviously again soon, because that's coming up. That's 77, and Live and Let Die is 1973. And in case you've never heard the song Live and Let Die by Paul McCartney and Wings, it is repeatedly used in this film in the themes and people singing the song, so it is an integral part of the motion picture. And yeah, it looks pretty good. So Live and Let Die from 1973, directed by Guy Hamilton. Most definitely a movie of its time, but most definitely entertaining. Had to give this one 3 stars. Now, the question is, will I see a James Bond movie in the future that I give more than 3 stars? We'll find out soon. Up next, we have Betsy's Wedding from 1990, directed by Alan Alda. The tagline is, "The wedding picture doesn't always tell the real story." Offbeat fashion student Betsy Hopper and her straight-laced investment banker fiance Jake Lovell just want an intimate little wedding reception. But Betsy's father, Eddie, a Long Island construction contractor, feels so threatened by Jake's rich wasp parents that he blows the ceremony up into a bank-breaking showpiece, sending his wife Lola into a financial panic. Oh boy. I didn't have necessarily high hopes for this movie. I had heard about it a million years ago. When I first started working at the video store I worked at when I was a teenager, we had a copy of this, and I was like, why isn't this on the shelf? And the manager was like, we're not having it as a rental. They pulled movies occasionally that nobody rented, and this was one of them. I should have taken a hint from this, because I found this to be a very flat and unfunny movie. It's the kind of movie that I have to assume is so personal to Alan Alda, because he's the writer-director here, that it's of his humor. It's of the things he likes to tell us as a creator. And I did read that this was, something based upon his real-life experience. However, I think it's so close to the chest that the things that this movie should be making you laugh about and enjoy are just completely missing. It just is very, it's like where are the jokes? Where's the things that I'm supposed to be laughing at? Where are the things that are supposed to make me feel like, oh, or that's too bad, or oh my gosh. But there is one part of this movie that I think works, and that is Anthony LaPaglia, who is playing the character Stevie D, who is sent to follow Ali Sheedy, who is the sister of Betsy. She's playing Connie. Connie is a New York City cop. Ali Sheedy is a cop. It does not compute. I don't know if that is bad casting or it's just like the movies were just kind of going for it. I don't know. There was one scene with her like pointing a gun, and I'm just like, she's not really a cop. She's Ali Sheedy. But the dynamics between Connie and Stevie, where he's following her around and he's connected to some not so good business dealings. I think they're great together. They have chemistry. Anthony LaPaglia is like clearly the highlight of this movie. He shows up, he's like mugging, he's doing like the kind of stereotypical New York guy kind of thing, like how's it going, blah, blah, blah. But I think he's really great at it. And it is really too bad because this is a movie that not only has Alan Alda and Molly Ringwald and Ali Sheedy, but also Catherine O'Hara and Joe Pesci and Burt Young. And yet the person who shines above all of them, and I didn't even mention Madeline Kahn, is Anthony LaPaglia. So I mean, he's talented. He's good. He's kind of playing the same character, almost the same character he plays in the movie So I Married an Axe Murderer. Regardless, all this talent in this movie, and they don't really have much to do. I did like Molly Ringwald's costumes. She's kind of playing in like a, how shall I say it, moving into the 90s, new wave gal, like fun costumes, artsy. But she is a fashion student. They did a good job on the costuming at least. And then the finale of this movie is just like the disaster of the wedding and what happens. Yeah, I just wasn't on the same level of this movie. It just wasn't for me. And it's too bad because I think this cast is great any day of the week. But even Joe Pesci is kind of like doing a typical guy kind of thing. And Catherine O'Hara is barely in the movie as his wife. It's a big missed opportunity. Betsy's Wedding from 1990, directed by Alan Alda. Had to give this one 2 stars. I ended up watching it on Hulu. It's also on Hoopla, and I bet it's on other services too. Let me hit that wonderful button. No, that's where you can get it if you don't want to pay any extra bucks for it. Otherwise, it's a $3.99 rental. Betsy's Wedding. Next, I'm going to talk to you about a couple short films I recently watched. I rewatched the movie After Hours with the commentary track, and then in rewatching that, I was looking up other movies that Griffin Dunn was in, and sure enough, he was in a short film about hockey called 5 Minutes for Fighting from 1982, directed by David Grotenstein. 2 hockey players end up in the penalty box, and they've been there many times before. It's just 2 guys in the penalty box, being, kind of mouthy with each other and talking shit, and then they have to go back on the ice, and that's what it is. It's totally pleasing to watch, and fine for a little short film. I think it's a great idea, because 5 Minutes for Fighting, it is 6 minutes long. Only 43 people have logged this total. That includes me on Letterboxd, so that's cool. I don't really like giving shorts star ratings because of the way that stories and the progression of shorts, I mean, you're really just doing this moment. It's not going to be this big, huge, theatrical narrative feature kind of thing. But I would give this one a thumbs up. I like the idea of it, and I thought it was funny. Another thing I watched was Sounds from a Town I Love from 2001, directed by Woody Allen. A montage of short scenes of New Yorkers talking on their cell phones, evoking snippets of conversation overheard and passing on the streets of Manhattan, intended as a celebration of the people of New York City after the events of September 11th, 2001. And I didn't know until I clicked this when I realized this was recorded off of somebody's television broadcast for the concert for New York that happened after the terrorist attack on September 11th. Many weeks later, everybody got together, like artists, New York City performers, folks, and just notable New York, people, and many performing artists who did music and talks about New York. It was this huge concert. I remember watching part of it on TV when it happened, and it was across most of the, I want to say across the Viacom channels, so your CBS, your MTV, your VH1. But this short is very quick. It's 3 minutes long. And it's directed by Woody Allen, so that tells you a lot about it. But it is a very New York thing. It is people on their cell phones talking about random things and just passing by. You've heard these people on the street, the random conversations they have in New York. And I've been going to New York every year for the last 10 years, because I go to the US Open for tennis. And is truly a New York thing. Like, for real, the people on their phones, just the random things that you pass by and hear them saying. It reminds me of like one of my favorite internet kind of meme. I think this was a Vine thing, where like this guy is like outside a stoop or whatever, and this woman walks by and she's like on her phone and she goes, and oh my god, they were roommates and blah blah blah, and then the guy goes, and they were roommates. It's like just such a little internet thing, but a very much New York thing, and that's kind of what this movie is. Yeah, it's amusing. It's only 3 minutes long. Like, search it. Sounds from a Town I Love. I think the link I watched it on was technically Facebook. Somebody had uploaded it there. But yeah, I would give this one like a thumbs up as well. It's really cute and nice, and it makes total sense as like a contribution that Woody Allen would have done for this kind of event. So now our final film we'll talk about on this episode is 28 Years Later from 2025, directed by Danny Boyle. The tagline is, in 28 days it began, in 28 weeks it spread, in 28 years it evolved. 28 years since the rage virus escaped a biological weapons laboratory. Now, still in a ruthlessly enforced quarantine, some have found ways to exist amidst the infected. One such group lives on a small island connected to the mainland by a single heavily defended causeway. When one member departs on a mission in the dark heart of the mainland, he discovers secrets, wonders, and horrors that have mutated not only the infected, but other survivors as well. So, I had seen the first trailer for this movie, and it's been a long time since I've watched, like, 28 Days Later, 28 Weeks Later. And so I didn't really feel like I needed to revisit those movies, because I got the feeling that this was like a continuation of the series, sure, but maybe taking a different path. And take a different path, it sure did. I thought this movie was like the Aaron Taylor Johnson show. He plays like this lead character, Jamie, who has a wife, Isla, played by Jodie Comer. I thought it was going to be about them just trying to survive and like whatever's happening, but no, it's mostly about Spike, who's played by Alfie Williams, their son, because when he is 12 years old, his father decides to take him out to, hunt some infected folks. For what reason? Just so he can, get the experience, I guess. And usually the kids are a little older when they do this, like 14 or so. They say this, like, oh, he's a little young. But once Spike goes out into the, the mainland, because they're kind of like on an island, he learns from his father that there's a doctor character out there who maybe in Spike's mind could help his mother, Isla, who is suffering from something. We don't know what. She just has to stay in bed most of the time, and she has like tremors, and she's not healthy. There's something going on with her. Now, as this movie progresses and we learn more things about this family involved, I became more and more uninterested in what was happening in front of me. And I think this is just a me thing. The way this movie goes about telling the story and really becoming this like journey for Spike, I just was not into it. I wasn't into seeing this child learn things and also put his family at risk multiple times. And then, man, at a certain point, it really hit me what this movie was really making me think of, unfortunately. And I question, would this movie have gone in a very different direction if this wasn't the case? But it reminded me so much of the Quiet Place movies, like especially the latest one with Lupita Nyong'o, where she's playing a woman who is dying of cancer, who goes back to her old apartment that she had to abandon years before. Or no, she is in New York City and everything happens. Never mind. And then she has to go find her apartment. Yes, because it's a prequel. So it's like when everything happens. I'm totally messing it up. But anyway, just the way the journey is, the pacing is, and how the infected folks like always pop up and, you have to run. And then, maybe somebody comes along and you meet them and they're not infected and you interact with them. And it's like, how are we going to survive? I was more and more distracted by what this movie wasn't giving me, which was really nothing engaging and nothing I think that I found very interesting, and would make me think this was a 28 days, years, weeks, film. It just became very unsatisfying as it plodded along. And I don't think anybody's really bad in this, but I just think having the movie on the shoulders of a youngster was not a good idea. And then we eventually meet Ralph Fiennes, who's playing this doctor character that Spike is really hoping will help everything. And I liked Ralph Fiennes in this movie. He is almost too good for this movie. His performance is really terrific. He sheds a lot of light onto the bleak side of like how to live in this world, because these people, this family, they're not necessarily living in the same realm that anybody on the mainland is if they're able to survive. They have like an entire community support system. They have ways of alerting each other of problems. And here, Ralph Fiennes is, and he is facing the horrors like straight in the face. Like he's looking death in the eye. And I thought it was a really great performance. And yet, once this movie shifted to that kind of arena in this storytelling again, I'm just kind of like, this isn't working for me. Despite the fact that Ralph Fiennes, I think, is really great in this. Like, it's perfect. It's like the role was written for him. He has the most terrific delivery with the lines he says in this, the way he handles this struggle that people are going through in these moments. So I found myself very frustrated by this movie, and I don't want to think about Quiet Place movies when I'm watching this, but I was. And oh man, yeah, it's maybe a me thing, but I just found this to be very unsatisfying. So 28 years later, from 2025, directed by Danny Boyle. Yeah, it's sadly a 2-star film, and it's weird. The way this movie was shot too. I don't want to complain about it, but I just found it. I found it first like really great because I was like, oh my gosh, it's not a movie that looks like every gray ass movie that's made today that's shot on digital or something that's trying to look like it's not shot on digital. It's just leaning into what that is. And then by the time the movie was like almost over, I was like really tired of it. And that might just be like how I felt about the storytelling anyway, but no, I found this to be, pretty disappointing. And if I wasn't with someone else, I went and saw this with my sister because she was like, we gotta go. I probably would have walked out. It just wasn't for me. So 2 stars. 28 years later, from 2025, directed by Danny Boyle. Yeah. I will say about Danny Boyle, he's a filmmaker who I don't necessarily have like a great opinion of, but it's not his fault. I'll say that. I just think a lot of his projects like don't appeal to me. And I especially am speaking of like things like Yesterday, Trainspotting T2, no. But I remember really liking the original Trainspotting movie when it came out, and things like Trance and A Lifeless Ordinary. He's really searching for like, the special things in life and romance and, how to get through the day. And even so, I find myself conflicted because I think he's very talented, but I just think all in all, like not all his movies work for me. And oh my gosh, he made the Steve Jobs movie. Oh, a movie I do not like. And even so, it has a killer performance from Kate Winslet in there. Oh, she's so good in that movie. I would watch just the scenes of Kate Winslet in that movie. I think she's phenomenal in that one. Fix it, Steve, fix it. Oh man, she's so good. Now, I've never seen The Beach. I think I should watch The Beach. Maybe that's one I'll enjoy. Probably not. But that's on Hulu. So who knows? That could be on a future episode. Anyway, yeah, I am so sorry. Nothing was really working for me on this episode other than the short films that I got something out of. And yeah, Live and Let Die. I'm going to keep going on the Bond films. That's something where I'm watching those with my sister. And we're slowly getting through them. We have a number of them to go, but I bought a couple of the James Bond like DVD box sets, so I've got like copies. And yeah, of course, $3.99 rentals doesn't break the bank. But what's coming soon on the podcast? Well, I'm going back to the movies tomorrow. I am seeing Fantastic Four. I am allegedly seeing Eddington, despite not being interested in Eddington at all. And I don't know. This is August. It's a tough time for movies that are in theaters. Like, not much is going to really appeal to me because of the way that releasing is kind of working at this month period, but maybe that's a good thing. I will say I am very excited to see Caught Stealing on August 29th, and every time I see a trailer for it, I'm like, yes, I will be there opening night. And also, Spike Lee has a new movie coming out on August 15th, and if my theater gets it, I will absolutely go see it. But does that mean it'll be on the next episode? Yeah, maybe. Because that's 11 days from now. I don't know. We'll see. We'll figure it out. I'll be watching movies. I'll be trying to watch movies at least. And who knows? We'll talk when we talk. But yeah, I'm Mallory. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. Cinema5000.com is the website. If you're on YouTube, Cinema 5000 Podcast. If you're on Bluesky, Cinema 5000. And if you want to send an email, send it to cinema5kpod@gmail.com. What can I say? It is what it is. You can't win them all. And I will talk to you soon, hopefully. Again, it is going to be a very chaotic August and September for me. So I'll talk to you later. Okay, bye.